Welcome, friends, to this special exploration of envy and deception through the lens of Stoic wisdom. I'm Stoic Warrior, and I'm delighted you've joined me today on this journey toward greater clarity and inner strength. Have you ever noticed that knot in your stomach when you see someone else's success, or felt the sting of a whisper in your ear, casting doubt on your own choices? These feelings, envy and deception, are threads in the human experience, weaving themselves into our relationships, our perceptions, and the very stories we tell ourselves. But what if I told you that these troublesome emotions aren't some inevitable curse, but rather signals opportunities to understand ourselves more deeply, to sharpen our judgment, and to cultivate calm resilience? That's the promise of Stoic philosophy, not only to withstand life's challenges, but to transform them into stepping stones toward wisdom. In the next few minutes, we'll walk through practical insights and guiding questions that help us recognize when envy rises, how deception works both from others and within our minds, and what steps we can take to reclaim our reason and our tranquility. Let's dive in. Part 1. Unmasking envy. Envy often creeps in like a shadow at dusk, subtle yet insidious, coloring our perceptions and stirring unrest in the heart. But what fuels this shadow? At its core, envy is not simply a wish for what someone else has. It is a judgment that our own life, our achievements, are somehow insufficient. In the words of Seneca, we are more often frightened than hurt, and we suffer more from imagination than from reality. When envy takes hold, it thrives on the stories we spin in our minds, stories of lack, stories that declare, "I am less than they." From a Stoic perspective, externals, wealth, reputation, even relationships are all indifference, neither inherently good nor bad. Marcus Aurelius reminds us in his Meditations, if someone else is building up his external advantages, do you think that this diminishes your own? Not at all. My virtue and my own choice remain untouched. Envy distorts this simple truth, convincing us that another's gain is our loss. Yet in reality, their success has no power to change the soil of character within us unless we allow it. Let yourself feel the pang of envy fully for a moment. Notice the tightness in the chest, the clammy hands, the inner voice whispering unworthy thoughts. This discomfort is a signal and invitation to deeper self-examination. Epictetus counsels, it is not the things themselves that disturb us, but our opinions about them. By attaching judgment to external events, we suffer. However, by practicing clear-eyed observation, we learn to distinguish fact from fiction. When you sense envy's tug, ask, what judgment am I making? What story have I accepted without scrutiny? Consider this: every time you envy another, you grant them undue power over your emotional domain. You make your peace of mind contingent upon their achievements or failures. Yet Stoicism teaches that true power resides within, rooted in rational choice and virtuous intention. Cultivating this inner citadel requires us to unmask envy, to see it not as an immutable force, but as a misjudgment that can be corrected. Imagine envy as a mask covering your reason, coloring your world in shades of green. To remove it, cultivate awareness and reframe your perspective. When you next feel that familiar ache, whether at a friend's promotion, a peer's praise, or a stranger's fortune, pause and reflect. What do I truly value? Is their gain a threat to my capacity for joy? Then remind yourself of Seneca's further counsel: wherever there is a human being, there's an opportunity for kindness. Celebrate their success as proof that excellence exists in the world and that you too can embody it. Finally, let gratitude be your lamp in the dark. Each morning, write down one small thing you accomplished yesterday, one quality in yourself you admire, and one moment that brought you genuine contentment. These simple entries dispel the illusion that life's richness lies beyond your grasp. They reorient your attention toward the abundance already present in your mind and heart. By unmasking envy in this way through Stoic analysis, direct engagement with our emotional responses, and daily practices of gratitude, we reclaim sovereignty over our inner life. We discover that tranquility is not granted by fortune, but claimed through the disciplined training of our perceptions. In that reclamation lies true freedom: freedom from comparison, freedom to cultivate our excellence, and freedom to stand firm, unmoved by fleeting shadows. Part 2. The Stoic Shield Against Envy. Once we've unmasked envy's subtle workings, The next step is to fortify our inner citadel against its return. Stoicism offers us a dual strategy shield: cognitive reframing and active gratitude, both rooted in the conviction that our power lies not in externals, but in our judgments and intentions. Let us begin with cognitive reframing. In the heat of comparison, it is easy to see another's success as a personal slight. Yet, as Marcus Aurelius teaches in his Meditations, receive without pride, let go without attachment. When envy stirs within you, reframe the scenario. Someone else's achievement does not diminish your own. It merely highlights what is possible. Imagine your mind as a clear pool. When disturbed by another's reflection, ask yourself, is this disturbance in the world or my mind? By shifting from why them, not me, to what can I learn from this, you transform envy from a poison into a guide. Seneca, too, urges us to examine our judgments. He writes, "We suffer more often in imagination than in reality." In practical terms, this means that the anguish of envy rises from stories we create, stories of inadequacy, of undeserved loss. Stoic reframing invites us to challenge those narratives. Is it true that my value declines when theirs increases? Almost always, the answer is no. Instead, reframe. Their success stands as proof that virtuous effort yields fruit. My efforts remain under my control. This shift restores agency, reminding us that our own choice is how we work, how we think are the wellsprings of fulfillment. Parallel to reframing is the active practice of gratitude. Imagine envy as a blindfold that narrows your vision, forcing you to focus on what you lack. Gratitude tears that blindfold away, broadening your view to encompass the abundance already present. Epictetus counsels, "He is a wise man who does not grieve for the things which he has not, but rejoices for those which he has." Each morning, take 5 minutes to list 3 things you often overlook, perhaps a skill you've honed, a friendship that sustains you, or even the simple breath in your lungs. Speak them aloud. Feel the warmth of appreciation spread through your chest. Over time, gratitude becomes reflexive. Even amid inevitable challenges, your soul finds stable ground. Emotionally, these twin practices resonate deeply. When you reframe and express gratitude, you are not denying reality. You are choosing a more life-affirming reality. You remind yourself that goodness is not a zero-sum game. On days when envy claws at you, pause and breathe in the truth that your worth is not measured by another's spotlight. Instead, it is forged in the quiet, persistent work of self-improvement and the humble recognition of life's gifts. Let us close this shield-building exercise with a simple prompt. The next time envy appears, pause and ask, what am I truly judging, and what am I already possessing that I can celebrate? By answering these questions earnestly, you wield the Stoic shield. Reframing distorts envy's sting into curiosity, and gratitude extinguishes its shadow. In this way, you transform envy from a lurking adversary into a teacher that, once understood, no longer holds power over your peace. Your inner citadel stands firm, rooted in reason, illuminated by appreciation, and unshakable against the winds of comparison. Part 3. Recognizing deception from others. In our daily interactions, deception rarely arrives as dramatic betrayal. More often, it drifts in on soft winds, flattery wrapped in veiled intent, half-truths spun to convenience, or carefully curated images designed to impress. As Stoics, we are called not to cynicism, but to clear-eyed perception, to discern reality beneath the masks others wear. Marcus Aurelius reminds us in Meditations, "If someone can show me that what I think or do is wrong, I will gladly change, for I seek the truth, by which no one was ever truly harmed." This passage is not only a guide for self-correction, it invites us to receive truth from any source, even when it comes clothed in deception. When you feel flattered, ask, what motive underlies this praise? Am I being encouraged toward genuine virtue, or am I being nudged into a false comfort zone? In doing so, you transform deception from an unseen predator into a lesson in vigilance. Stoic philosophy teaches that all externals, other people's words, their gestures, are indifference. They hold no inherent power unless we surrender our judgment. Epictetus drives this point home in discourses. Whoever insults you, wrongs you, or treats you badly remember that he acts or speaks out of ignorance of what is good or evil. In other words, when deception or manipulation surfaces, it is often a reflection of the other person's misunderstanding or self-interest. Recognizing this can soften the sting of betrayal. We see the deceiver not as an omnipotent foe, but as a fellow human acting from confusion. Yet understanding motive is only half the battle. The other half is setting clear boundaries. Seneca warns, associate with people who are likely to improve you. If someone's compliments consistently come tethered to an ask whether for favor, influence, or information, learn to create distance. When you're in a conversation that feels like give and take, in which you give far more, pause and reflect. Is this exchange balanced? What price am I paying for their words? This question, spoken internally, protects your time, energy, and emotional equilibrium. Emotionally, recognizing deception requires us to name the uncomfortable sensations. It stirs a flutter of doubt when praise seems too effusive, a tightness in the gut when words hint at unspoken demands. These bodily signals are nothing to fear. They are gifts from your rational nature, calling you to investigate. Next time you feel that catch in your chest, slow down. Ask yourself, what am I sensing beneath the surface? What questions haven't I asked? By leaning into discomfort, you reclaim agency over your responses. To cultivate this perceptive clarity, practice the Stoic exercise of premeditatio malorum, anticipating the worst. Before a meeting or social gathering, envision possible forms of deception, false praise, subtle manipulation, gossip with hidden agendas. Picture yourself noticing these patterns without surprise, responding with calm questions and firm boundaries. This mental rehearsal arms you with poise when real deception arises, so you meet it not with shock, but with steady reason. Ultimately, recognizing deception in others is not an act of mistrust, but an exercise in discernment. It is a commitment to preserve your inner citadel against incursions that would erode your tranquility. As Marcus Aurelius affirms, the impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. Deception, once unmasked and met with clear judgment, becomes another opportunity to strengthen your Stoic armor and to walk through life with unwavering calm and clarity. Part 4. Unveiling self-deception. Self-deception is perhaps the most cunning of all illusions because it originates within. We tell ourselves comforting stories. I'll begin my discipline tomorrow. The small compromise won't change who I am, or I'm too busy to reflect right now. Yet with each unexamined excuse, we chip away at our integrity, blurring the boundary between who we truly aspire to be and the flimsy persona we allow to drift through the day. Marcus Aurelius warns us in Meditations, see that you perform no act of injustice, no word of untruth, no thought of self-indulgence. Notice how he places thought alongside word and deed because inner honesty is equally vital. When we deceive ourselves, we permit small distortions of truth to take hold, and those distortions grow like cracks in a foundation. Over time, the edifice of our character unsettles beneath us. Consider the ways we rationalize resistance to growth, the half-hearted promise to exercise that never moves us from the chair, the intention to pause and breathe mindfully that dissolves under the first distraction, the vow to speak our truth that withers when conflict approaches. Epictetus reminds us in his discourses, first say to yourself what you would be, and then do what you have to do. If we remain silent when we know we ought to speak, we betray our standards. If we convince ourselves that comfort outweighs conviction, we surrender our power. Emotionally, self-deception often hides beneath a veil of relief, that momentary sense of comfort. I don't need to face that hard truth today, feels soothing. Yet beneath the surface lies unrest, an indefinable heaviness, a low-grade tension that sparks anxiety or irritability. This dissonance is your rational nature signaling alarm. Seneca writes in his letters, true happiness is to enjoy the present without anxious dependence upon the future. But if our present is entangled in avoidance, our happiness remains perpetually out of reach. To unveil self-deception, Stoics prescribe the practice of rigorous self-examination. Each evening, before sleep, review your day with uncompromising clarity. Ask, where did I act in harmony with my principles? Where did I make excuses? Name your rationalizations without judgment. Observe them as data. If you promised yourself a moment of stillness, but instead scrolled mindlessly through your phone, note it. If you withheld a difficult conversation out of fear, acknowledge that fear. In this gentle yet forensic audit, you reclaim awareness over your habits. Moreover, Stoics teach the power of public accountability. Share your goals with a trusted friend or mentor who will call you on subtle evasions. Epictetus advises, associate with people who will make a better person of you. When someone you respect asks you, how are you holding yourself to your word, you cannot hide behind self-justifications. Their inquiry strengthens your resolve to live transparently. Finally, cultivate the courage to realign swiftly. Upon detecting self-deception, whether a false reassurance or a veiled avoidance, pause, breathe in calm clarity, then take a small corrective step. Send that message you've been delaying. Sit in silence for 5 uninterrupted minutes. Speak the truth you've been nursing in your mind. Each corrective action, however modest, reaffirms your commitment to authenticity. Unveiling self-deception is not an exercise in shame, but an act of liberation. As Marcus Aurelius affirms, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. When we confront our illusions with a steady gaze, we reclaim that power. In doing so, our inner citadel grows stronger, its walls forged not from brittle excuses, but from the unyielding steel of truth. Part 5. Practical exercises for cultivating clarity. Theory becomes transformation only when translated into practice. The Stoics understood this deeply. As Epictetus declared, don't just say you have read books, show that through them you have learned to think better, to act better. With that in mind, here are 3 exercises designed to train your mind's eye to see clearly, unclouded by envy or deception. First, the envy journal. Each time you feel that familiar pang, whether it arises in response to a friend's achievement or a stranger's showcase, pause and record the moment. Note the trigger, perhaps a congratulatory caption on social media or a colleague's accolade. Then write down the inner narrative that followed. I'm falling behind, or they don't deserve this more than me. Finally, craft a Stoic counterstatement. Invoke Marcus Aurelius, the obstacle on the path becomes the path. Reframe your envy as a signpost pointing to values you wish to cultivate, be it diligence, resilience, or compassion. Over days, this journal becomes a map of your judgments, revealing how often you mistake externals for essentials, and guiding you back to the principles that truly matter. Next, the Socratic pause. In the flurry of conversation, be it praise, criticism, or a suspiciously sweet compliment, train yourself to breathe deeply 5 times before responding. As you inhale, ground yourself in the present moment. As you exhale, soften the instinct to react. Seneca offers encouragement. Pause long enough to ask whether, in the silence of your mind, you might find the better answer. During this pause, pose inner questions. What is my aim here? Am I allowing another's words to dictate my worth? This brief interval, though small, builds the muscle of discernment. Emotionally, it transforms reactive discomfort into calm curiosity, empowering you to choose a response aligned with your highest self rather than with fleeting impulses. Finally, the practice of daily negative visualization. While it may sound counterintuitive, imagining loss is a powerful guard against envy and self-deception alike. Each evening, spend a few moments picturing a precious aspect of your life, your health, a relationship, the roof over your head slipping away. Feel the gratitude that wells up in that imagined void. Marcus Aurelius instructs us, you could leave life right now. Let that determine what you do and say and think. By pre-experiencing potential loss, you anchor your appreciation in the present and disarm envy's whisper that someone else's gain devalues your blessings. These exercises share a common thread. They invite you to meet your thoughts and emotions with clear-eyed courage. They remind you, as Epictetus teaches, that it's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. Through the envy journal, you expose misplaced judgments. Through the Socratic pause, you cultivate inner freedom. Through negative visualization, you deepen gratitude and resilience. Emotionally, you may encounter discomfort confronting envy in black and white, quieting your mind when it craves reaction, or dwelling on loss when you prefer denial. Yet in each instance, that discomfort is an ally, signaling growth. When you lean into it, you unmask deeper truths and reinforce the Stoic conviction that your peace depends not on externals, but on the steady practice of reason and vigilance. Commit to these exercises for the next 30 days. Notice how your heart steadies, how the grip of comparison weakens, and how the world's ever-shifting reflections no longer dictate the solidity of your inner life. In this transformation lies the Stoic promise to cultivate a mind as unmovable as the stars, shining with the clarity of a soul at peace. Part 6. Cultivating Inner Strength and Serenity. Having unmasked envy, built our shield, detected deception, confronted self-deception, and practiced clarity, we arrive at the heart of Stoic aspiration, inner strength and serenity. This is not a fragile calm that falters at the first storm, but a rooted tranquility born of disciplined thought and courageous action. As Marcus Aurelius reflects in his Meditations, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength at its core. Stoic strength arises from understanding what lies within our control, our judgments, desires, and actions, and what lies beyond it. Seneca urges us, "He who fears death will never do anything worth of a man who is alive." Translated practically, this means that when we free ourselves from fear of external loss, status, possessions, approval, we unlock the boldness to act by virtue. Every time you choose integrity over convenience, compassion over resentment, you reinforce the pillars of your inner fortress. Emotionally, this journey demands vulnerability. It asks you to face discomfort without retreating, to speak truth in the face of social pressure, to accept criticism without self-condemnation. Epictetus challenges us, difficulties are things that show a person what they are. Rather than turning away from challenges, embrace them as opportunities for growth. When a setback shakes you, pause and ask, what does this reveal about my attachments? How can I use this moment to strengthen my resolve? In doing so, you transform adversity into a workshop for the soul. Stoic serenity is cultivated through the harmonization of thought and practice. It blossoms when reflective study meets lived experience. Each day, carve out brief moments, whether through journaling, meditation, or mindful pauses, to reaffirm your values. Revisit Marcus Aurelius's counsel. Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be. Be one. Here, action is the bridge between theory and transformation. When you greet morning traffic with patience instead of rage, when you respond to criticism with curiosity instead of defensiveness, you are embodying Stoic serenity in real time. Seneca offers a powerful visualization. Begin at once to live, and count each separate day as a separate life. This radical present-mindedness frees you from the anxieties of past regrets and future uncertainties. By fully inhabiting each moment, you cultivate a steady calm that is impervious to external turbulence. Practice anchoring exercises. Feel your feet on the ground. Observe your breath. Note the sensations of existence. These simple acts of presence fortify your inner citadel against distraction and fear. Finally, remember that Stoic strength is neither solitary nor static. Epictetus reminds us that we belong to a community of rational beings. Seek out kindred spirits who challenge you to grow, who reflect your commitments to virtue. Engage in conversations that stimulate reflection rather than feed vanity. By surrounding yourself with fellow travelers on the Stoic path, you reinforce your practice and spread serenity outward. In truth, cultivating inner strength and serenity is a lifelong endeavor, a continual sharpening of the mind's eye and the will's resolve. There will be days when you falter, when envy or self-deception resurfaces, when the world's chaos intrudes. Yet each return to practice rebuilds your foundation more robustly. As Marcus Aurelius concludes, the impediment to action advances. Action. What stands in the way becomes the way. Let every obstacle become another chance to fortify your inner fortress, to deepen your calm, and to live with unwavering clarity and courage. As we bring this conversation to a close, reflect on the path we've walked, identifying the pang of envy, reframing our judgments, detecting deception in the world and within ourselves, and practicing concrete exercises to reclaim clear perception. The Stoic journey isn't a destination reached once and for all, but a lifelong pilgrimage toward wisdom, Before we part, I encourage you to choose one practice, perhaps the Envy Journal or the Socratic Pause, and commit to it for the next 7 days. Notice how it changes your perspective, your relationships, and your inner peace. Thank you for listening with an open heart and a curious mind. If you found value in these insights, please consider liking this video, sharing it with someone who could use a dose of Stoic clarity, and subscribing for more reflections on ancient wisdom applied to modern life. Together, let's build a community grounded in reason, resilience, and genuine connection. Until next time, remain steadfast in your reason, gentle in your actions, and courageous in the face of life's challenges. May the Stoic light guide your path. Farewell and be well.